Number 10. Our pal Glamrock Freddy. Based on the newest trailer and even the merch leading up to its release, it now seems highly likely and even pretty obvious that Glamrock Freddy will be our friend, ally, and potentially savior, and that for the first time in forever, we'll actually have an animatronic on our side as opposed to all of them turned against us. Not going to lie, I was kinda hoping when this moment came in the games that I'd get to team up with Foxy. Not necessarily Freddy, but hey, I'll take what I can get. It's still really cool to be teaming up and befriending any animatronic in these games. Of course, not everything is always as it seems in trailers, which can be edited to be purposefully misleading so the mystery and story of the game remains intact for that gameplay experience. So while it seems like Glamrock Freddy will be working with us and not against us, we might not want to be too quick to trust him just yet. Number 9. Don't trust Freddy. While Glamrock Freddy does appear to be friendly in the newest State of Play trailer, promising to help Gregory escape, that doesn't mean that he's our friend. At this point, fans of FNAF should be used to the classic misdirect when it comes to someone seeming to be our ally, only to betray our trust. After all, we've seen this to a certain extent in both Sister Location and Pizzeria Simulator as well, with us thinking we knew what was up with both Circus Baby and Cassette Man, who of course turns out to be Henry, who has used you to put his own plans in motion. And we all know what happens with Circus Baby. You get scooped! Based on the history of trusted traitors, I think it's fair for us to go into Security Breach at least being a little bit cautious of anyone who seemingly wants to help us. So although he seems like an ally, is he really? Probably. But maybe not. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you want more Security Breach theories as we get closer to the release of this game, it's finally coming soon, I'm so excited! Please be sure to let us know by giving this video a thumbs up. Number 8. Health battery? Question mark? Is that what this is? This is more of a minor, or I suppose more functional theory, if that's a thing. Less to do with lore, more to do with gameplay and mechanics when it comes to Glamrock Freddy and our interaction with the animatronic. It seems as though while playing as Gregory and hiding within Glamrock Freddy, we'll be able to control the animatronic. As seen in the State of Play trailer, after Gregory climbs into Glamrock Freddy, we seem to be able to see from the animatronic's point of view, either implying that we are playing as Gregory controlling the animatronic, or we're playing as Glamrock Freddy, who is actively protecting Gregory of their own accord. Because, yeah, Gregory seems to be like this inside their stomach, so unless he can stand up, I don't really know how you pilot that suit. At the bottom of the player screen, we see a battery whose full charge is divided into 5 segments. This could either be the amount of power we have in terms of controlling and using the animatronic, or it could be a health bar.
And it's 7 zombie virus. Now we know that William is infecting some of the animatronics with his form of the Afton virus. His whole, oh yeah, I'm a sentient code thing, while yes is indeed a computer virus, what if it causes the animatronics to act in other ways? For example, what if it makes the animatronics act like zombies as some form of robotic zombie virus? I mean, at this point, it's not like it's out of the realm of possibility for FNAF. These goddamn animatronics can do whatever the freaking hell they want to, and then we just have to go with it. So them being revealed as some freaks of nature that after being possessed by Afton have to feed on other animatronic parts wouldn't be very far-fetched. Plus, it would explain what the heck Chica is doing at the beginning of the latest trailer. If Afton is only able to possess one thing at a time, like I suspect, the animatronics would obviously end up being damaged after he was done with them, so there would be some residual bull that they would have to deal with because of him. So maybe it's just that they're turning into freak sweet nuts and bolts and gears. That really grinds my gears. I hate to see Chica like that.
Number 6. Scheduled maintenance. Something that I thought was very interesting about the State of Play trailer for Security Breach is that it seems as though Glamrock Freddy and the crew are not animatronics who appear on stage each night. At least, not currently. In the trailer, we learn that Freddy and his band will be taking a few days off from performing actually for scheduled maintenance. The question remains, is this normal scheduled maintenance that happens after each performance, or is it unscheduled maintenance that has to happen as a result of something that went wrong in the show? And if it's scheduled, what does that mean for Glamrock Freddy's personality? Is it possible that the maintenance, or perhaps lack thereof if he escaped before it happened, is what makes him seemingly help us as Gregory? Number 5. Save Chica. Alternatively, the "I'm trapped" we hear at the beginning of the trailer could be coming from an animatronic. Right after this bit of dialogue is uttered, we see Chica, who seems to appear prominently in the trailer in various stages of disrepair. At the beginning, it almost looks like Chica is struggling to fight against something. Now, I theorize that Chica might be one of the animatronics possessed by William Afton, infected by a virus that is Glitch Trap. In this game, it could be that the animatronics are not inherently bad, but are instead basically victims themselves of Glitch Trap's virus, and that as new animatronics, they were simply created to entertain initially, not having been influenced by William's design since he has been gone for so long, and not influenced by any spirits. As you know, they weren't involved in any of the killings, being new animatronics. Perhaps as Gregory, we will have to rid the animatronics of the virus, which affects most, but obviously not all of them, as Freddy appears to at least be pretty friendly towards us, at least initially. Or at some point, maybe we free him from the virus? Number 4. Free from possession. With the Glamrock animatronics, although we have theories about their origins, we don't really know anything just yet, specifically in terms of where they came from, or how haunted they are. It's therefore possible that Glamrock Freddy, unlike original Freddy or Golden Freddy, may not be possessed. This could perhaps be why he appears to act friendly towards us in the trailers. It could be that because there is, no vengeful spirit within him, that he has no reason to act viciously or violently towards us or anyone else. Instead, he truly does want to make sure children have a safe and fun time at the Mega Pizzaplex, so we might actually get to see and experience what an animatronic behaving the way they were originally intended and created to looks like, or at least how we'd assume they were originally designed to be. Of course, William and possibly Henry could have had some other intentions for how they wanted them to act, or their motivations behind what they wanted them to do, but I don't think so. I think originally, at least, it was about entertaining kids, I think.
Getting close to the end, in at number 3, How I Met Gregory's Mother. I like that. Now this is something that I somehow totally skipped past in previous videos, but in the first couple trailers for the game, the original one from the PlayStation event and the RTX trailer, we hear Vanny say some very odd things, even for a woman who is reluctantly possessed by a child serial killer on the route to seek vengeance. Things like, "Let's go home and put you to bed," and "It's getting late, let's go home." It's as if they're related somehow. Like if this was just a security guard, she wouldn't say "let's go home," she would say "let's get you home so you can go to bed." Just by the sheer language alone, we have to assume that they're related or living in the same house. And considering how young Gregory is, I don't think he's taken a lover at this stage. So this would have to be a relative, I hope. Like, if it's his mother though, it would make sense, and also give us a reason why Gregory was at the Pizzaplex so late. But when the place activates nighttime protocols, we learn that he's in there by accident, so what? Does our mother close the doors on us because she thought that we had left already? Like, I don't know. In the recent trailer, we see us running towards doors and then they start closing, so is that the start of the game? Honestly, I bet it is.
Number 2. Cousin Freddy? My old cousin Glamrock Freddy. What if Glamrock Freddy is actually helping us because he's possessed by a very special spirit? Not just any old spirit, but instead one very close to us as Gregory. What if Gregory is related to one of the victims in some way? It could be a long deceased cousin, aunt, or uncle who was a victim that ended up being bonded to the animatronic. After all, there have been theories about how this new game will introduce a ton of new characters, so it could also be introducing us to, or at least expanding upon, a new family who will be taking the place of the Aftons when it comes to them being the main focus. If Glamrock Freddy was possessed by a deceased relative of Gregory's, this would definitely explain their intention to help Gregory no matter the cost, and help to strengthen their commitment to help Gregory escape whoever is pursuing them. Likely the other Mega Pizzaplex animatronics, Vanny, and Glitch Trap. Number 1. Friend to the End. While we've talked about Glamrock Freddy's potential motivations for helping us, and even the possibility of him betraying us, we haven't talked about our theories for how this alliance could end up. One of the things that seems likely if he remains loyal is that Glamrock Freddy won't end up surviving this game. After all, if Glitch Trap, aka William Afton, returns, an animatronic or in human form, to the physical plane of existence, you can bet he won't be happy about Freddy helping Gregory. It seems likely that Glamrock Freddy in the end will be forced to sacrifice himself to save Gregory and help him get away. at least for now. Granted, who knows if Gregory will continue to be safe in the future. After all, this could just be the beginning of his story, even as it might be the end of Glamrock Freddy's. I'm already mourning the loss of him. I'm already like, rest in peace, Glamrock Freddy. You were great. Now you're gone.
Into 10 messages. So in the recent trailer we got to see gameplay of the cameras, which seems to be required in a FNAF game at this point. However, in these screens we have multiple tabs, including cameras, an odd missions tab, and finally the messages tab. Now, why do we have messages? This seems like such an obscure tab to have on this watch. Why, if we are the only human other than Vanny in this pizzaplex at night, are we able to get messages? Who is going to be sending these messages? Who are they going to be from? How is it possible? Are we going to be getting messages from like the animatronics, or is someone working with us? Are we going to be able to talk to Vanny, or I guess Vanessa? Are we going to be unaware that Vanessa is Vanny? Because while it may be obvious to us, we wouldn't really know about it in the in-game world as Gregory. Since, I mean, to be fair, in the game we don't have things like source code and teaser images that we can decode the original names of in order to learn the true story. So, what's the deal here? And at 9, animatronic Slayer. There seems to be some form of animatronic serial killer on the loose in these games, at least if we look at how we interact with Chica at the beginning of the video. And we know this takes place in the game and not just a cinematic, since the beginning of the trailer says that these clips are part gameplay and part in-game cinematic. So this moment does happen in-game. Whether it's at the beginning of the game or at the end is an entirely different question, but it's still possible nonetheless. A giant pipe just so happening to fall on Chica as she's about to tear you a whole new butthole? Yeah, that's certainly a coincidence and not something that was planned at all. However, this doesn't really have to be something that's out of the blue. What if we instead, as a part of a plan, lured Chica to that location so that someone else, possibly Vanessa, could push the pipe over and crush her, in an attempt to stop her from hurting anyone after Vanessa is saved and reveals that Chica is being controlled by Afton? And at 8, system override. Now, I made a mistake in my last video about what Sundance and Moondrop says. The Sun version of the animatronic doesn't say that he wants you, he instead says that he warned you. What did he warn us about, you ask? That's a theory for another day. However, what Moondrop says seems to have caught my eye, since after changing to their Moon variant they say, quote, "you naughty boy." And while that could just be a Mommy King thing, I'm thinking there's something else going on there. Because even in the custom captions that PlayStation added to make sure that we hear the right thing, Moondrop's line isn't included. Yet things like "I'm trapped" at the beginning of the trailer that even auto-generated captions couldn't pick up are included. So what's the deal? Could this be maybe a form of system override, or a way of showing that Moondrop, and by consequence the animatronics controlled by Afton, can get around the barriers of other media, since Afton is, after all, sentient code? Or is William Afton truly on YouTube? That's something I proposed after Glitch Trap appeared in the Freddy and Friends episode 4 glitches, and if Moondrop, who is most likely controlled by Afton, is able to subvert the YouTube systems in order to stay hidden, maybe there's something more there.
Number 7, Fight Back. If that battery we see on the screen while inside the Glamrock Freddy animatronic is a health bar, what does that mean? Well, it means that we can be hurt as Glamrock Freddy, or as Gregory, or both maybe, but it also could imply that for the first time ever we can potentially actively fight back against our assailants, which would be super cool. Typically in the FNAF franchise, the survival tactics at our disposal have been a lot more passive, with us not even being able to run away from our attackers in most cases. Or move. There's been a lot of us sitting at a desk, pressing buttons, looking around, that's about it. In Security Breach, it seems we can actively run and hide, but how cool would it be if we were also empowered by being able to fight back? Even if it's only temporarily when we're teamed up with Glamrock Freddy, that would still be pretty awesome.
And at 6, Freddy and Friends reveal. If Freddy and Friends was supposed to be building to the reveal of Security Breach's release date, then why did they reveal it in the latest PlayStation State of Play trailer? The whole hype surrounding these Freddy and Friends on Tour videos was that we would slowly get the Security Breach release date, one number at a time. But now, what are they building towards? Some think that it would be the same date for Security Breach, but I think that perhaps instead we will actually be getting a Freddy and Friends cartoon, or a Freddy Fazbear themed cartoon. Since someone new is taking over, it could be an easier way to familiarize themselves with the game lore, to help promote the movie, if that's ever actually going to be a thing, and we can get more information on their take of the FNAF story at once. and it would most likely be a higher quality than these Freddy and Friends cartoons, because while yes, the animation is fine, and it's definitely hard to do, and it's meant to pay homage to the classic cartoons, it's literally the same thing over and over again, just with a different setting. These animations are like the Back to the Future movies of FNAF cartoons. Like, to be fair, I do love Back to the Future, but they do the same thing over and over again. Halfway through into number 5, Dream Theory. Now, Dream Theory may piss some people off, but it's worth mentioning, since if you look at the scenes we have so far from the trailers and the lines of dialogue that serve as an explanation, they're very weird. There are some things that look like they shouldn't work but do, like the fact that Glitch Trap is just sentient code. That's one thing already. But then we have contradicting lines like you don't want to be here for 6 a.m. and the doors will reopen at 6 a.m. from the recent October gameplay trailer. And then there's also Monty swinging in for his entrance in that same trailer, but there's no way whatever he's swinging on should be attached to that ceiling. There's no track for it. There's not even like a slit in the ceiling to suggest that there is a track above it. It's just in the concrete, able to move forward and side to side somehow. Hell, honestly, it shouldn't even be hanging. It seems way too unrealistic, which only adds to the idea that this could be a dream, or rather one of the in-universe games, because if it's an indie game, they wouldn't really pay attention to that detail. And at 4, Music Man Spider. Music Man was introduced in FNAF 6 and really was only present in that game, as well as having a minor role in Ultimate Custom Night. But this time around, he seems to have gotten a huge promotion. And when I say huge, I mean it. In just a couple seconds of the trailer, we can see a giant Music Man animatronic crawling out of what seems to be a sewer pipe. My question is, what gives? Why is this Music Man Spider created? Why were they created, and what purpose do they serve? Is it like a functional animatronic that gives people rides while they cry and scream about being on the back of a giant spider, which would be totally understandable, by the way? Or is it just like an animatronic test subject built by Vanny to see how big an animatronic could be so that she could control it with the virus? I mean, like, we've never seen an animatronic this big before. So could this just be a dream? Or like a nightmare version of the Music Man? Because thanks to this, we now have confirmation that it has to take place after FNAF 6, which only makes it more confusing with FNAF AR, because the dates on the emails correspond to the date you're playing the game. And I know that that's why it says 2020 and 2021, but like, what the hell?
Number 3, Vanny Kills. To start the game off, I think something must have happened to Gregory's parents to make the game actually make sense. This either means they have become indisposed, left Gregory there on purpose, or more horrifyingly, have become the victim of Vanny. It's possible that the promo material we've seen of Vanny with a knife, where it says obey underneath, is really showing off Vanny and her murder weapon, and that the reason Gregory inherently runs from her is because he saw her murder his parents, or kidnap them or something. Now, why did Vanny do this? Probably because Glitch Trap made her do it. Why did he influence her to do it though? I mean, this is Glitch Trap, William Afton we're talking about. He could have made this order to get those parents out of the way because he needs Gregory as some sort of sacrifice, or maybe he needed Gregory's parents as sacrifices, or it could just be because, well, he's William Afton and he's a notoriously bad guy who loves killing for, as of yet, some pretty mysterious reasons. Don't really know, so he could just be like, kill them because I'm William Afton.
Penultimately, in number 2, good guys. Are the animatronics actually going to be the good guys this time around? At least until they end up getting corrupted. I mean, if they do get corrupted. It wouldn't be unlike Scott to make a whole separate story for if we somehow prevent the animatronics from getting corrupted, then that leads to the good ending. However, we only see Freddy helping us, but could it be that at the beginning, the animatronics are actually helping us get out of the Pizzaplex? I mean, the Sunrise animatronic said that he warned us, right? Well, warned us about what? The virus? What would happen if Vanny got these animatronics? He says this just as his night persona Moondrop takes over, and he tells us that we've been a naughty boy, so maybe this isn't the nighttime version, but rather a version that he changes into when he finds a criminal in the database, like the FNAF 2 animatronics would have, the toy versions. And the coding just flips it so that Gregory is hostile. I mean, these animatronics do look very toy-like, especially Chica and Freddy. It's certainly a theory, that's for sure. And while it may not be a new idea exactly, it does have some newer evidence thanks to this trailer. And finally, in at number 1, Worn Down. I made sure to point this out in the trailer breakdown video talking about the release date, however I think it deserves its own spot here. Throughout FNAF AR, the various animatronics that you have to deal with will have to deal with some wear and tear. It's part of the job. They get damaged occasionally and you need to repair them, no biggie, it's just a game mechanic. However, that mechanic seems to have been getting added to Security Breach as well, or at least the whole wearing down thing. Since thanks to this latest trailer, we've now seen Chica in a fixed state, a slightly damaged state, a more damaged state, and an even more damaged state than her teaser image from out back. You know, the teaser image from Dako's charity stream where she's missing her beak. Yeah, she gets even more damaged after that in this trailer. She starts losing parts of her arm. This indicates to me that these animatronics are going to have some form of health stat or something similar, since we also seem to think that these animatronics will have different stats, and that these stats will be particular to each animatronic, with Roxy having the highest speed and Montgomery Gator having the highest strength, something that was also showcased in this trailer with him smashing a laser, and something that has been hinted at since the first gameplay trailer in the last State of Play event. Because, you know, Roxy was just pushing on the gate and it wasn't opening, but Montgomery just absolutely tore through it. But what do you think? Will the animatronics wear down, or will we have a little more theorizing to do later on? Be sure you let me know your theories down below.
Number 10. Pizzeria Simulator animatronics come out to play. We've already gotten a look at a terrifying version of Music Man who will appear in Security Breach, referred to here as Giant Music Man. But who else could we potentially see appear from the massive roster of Pizzeria Simulator animatronics? The fact that Music Man appears at all seems to imply that any or all of the rest of the animatronics from that game could show up anywhere or anytime. To be honest, it would kind of make a lot of sense if they did. After all, the Mega Pizzaplex is, well, mega. It's huge. And to keep it as fun as can be, you would need lots of different animatronics to entertain the families who come to visit. Does this mean perhaps even that the Glamrock animatronics may not even be the only performers? Who's to say there aren't smaller stages located around the Pizzaplex where we might get to encounter such amazing bands as the more classic Freddy and Friends and the mediocre Melodies? You know you want to meet Mr. Hippo. You know you want to. Number 9. Toy equals Glamrock? This is a theory that of course came from one of our favorite channels, Game Theorists. Over there, MatPat suggested that the Glamrock animatronics we see in Security Breach may actually be none other than toy animatronics in disguise. He cited similarities between Toy Chica with her lost beak and Glamrock Chica with her missing beak in the trailer. If the Glamrock animatronics really are toy animatronics, what would this mean? Possibly that these animatronics actually have a closer connection to William than we thought, which of course would be pretty terrifying. The toy animatronics, I believe, were seemingly used as spare parts and then inevitably ended up scrapped, but what if instead they were really transformed into the Glamrocks? This would mean that there is the potential that their programming was created and tampered with by Afton himself, meaning they could be putting anyone they came into contact with in danger. Unhinged animatronics. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you want more Security Breach lists as we gear up for this game, it is coming soon. Be sure to let us know by giving this video a thumbs up. Number 8. Save Vanessa. Instead of Vanessa saving Gregory, what if we as Gregory have to save Vanessa? At the beginning of the newest Security Breach trailer, we hear a voice that sounds like it could belong to Vanessa, potentially, saying I'm trapped. Of course, it could also be Vanny's voice, but based on what we think we know of her, I mean, this wouldn't make a lot of sense. Vanessa, however, would make sense as a security guard who perhaps is also struggling with her own identity, as many of us believe that Vanessa and Vanny are one and the same, with Vanny being Vanessa's darker persona that is taking hold of or controlling her. If this is the case, it could be possible that Vanessa starts out as good, but is taken over by Vanny, and then needs to be set free again, as she struggles to fight for control over her own body, and fights to resist the likely influence of William Afton.
And it's 7 fake friend. I think at this point that Afton has learned that in order to kill people easily and effectively that they need to trust you. And that's why he wore the Spring Bonnie suit. I'm sure Charlotte didn't trust him and that's why he had to kill her out in the alley, but why would I bring this up? Simple. Because if this was what he learned, he would use this knowledge when creating and programming his little murder bots. So by proxy, this would also count for his virus. And what unlikely friend do we have that we have to trust in order to get through some aspects of the game? Glamrock Freddy. I wouldn't be surprised if this is all a ploy just to get us to trust Glamrock Freddy, by having the animatronics attack us so that we'll have to trust him, and then all of a sudden we lose control of him in mech mode and we ends up being taken somewhere to be sacrificed or whatever the case may be. I'm sure that Freddy is going to betray us, okay? And I get it, but at the same time, I find it unbearable. Get it? Because he's a bear? Okay, you suck.
Number 6. Vanessa Afton. Who is Vanessa really, and is she connected to the Afton family? This is a question many of us have been asking ourselves ever since we got a glimpse at what she looks like. Vanessa noticeably has green eyes and blonde hair, making her similar in appearance to an Afton family member we've already seen, Elizabeth. Her appearance has caused some fans to theorize that she might then be related to William, either another daughter of his or some other more distant relative. Some even believe she could be some kind of alternate version of Elizabeth or somehow be connected to her. Or that she could instead be going in a very different direction and be the fabled Mrs. Afton, the wife of William and mother of his children. Of course, the whole year that this game is supposed to be set in seems to imply that this would be highly unlikely, just based on what we know of the timeline, / possibly impossible. But just because we think we know when the game is set, just because we've been led to believe that it takes place in modern day, it doesn't mean that we're necessarily right here. So there is still a small chance that Vanessa could be related to or the romantic partner of William Afton, or is in some way connected to the Afton family tree. Number 5. Detected. If the maintenance is more unscheduled and unusual in terms of how the Mega Pizzaplex and its animatronics usually operate, this wouldn't be too surprising based on something else that we see in the State of Play trailer, and also involving Glamrock Freddy. There is a part of the trailer where we seem to see from Glamrock Freddy's perspective where he drops his microphone as he falls down. As if from his own point of view, we see a notification that seems to come up on, I guess, his view? What he sees, which declares that a child has been detected. At least that's what it seems to be declaring. It says detected, and there's a little picture of a person. I'm assuming it's a child. It could be a full-grown person, I don't know. But still, if it is a child, this would be a revelation. Granted, if Glamrock Freddy was performing, I assume there are lots of children and adults around. So what this means, we don't exactly know. Could it be that Gregory is already hiding inside him and that causes him to malfunction? Or could it be a child appearing on stage that wasn't supposed to be here and that causes the malfunction? Either Gregory or it could be someone else. Could this be another malfunction turned bite? So is it possible that, Glamrock Freddy bit someone and that's why he's malfunctioning? Is that why the animatronics need maintenance? Well, the theory that this detected notification has caused the malfunction could explain that scheduled maintenance. It also creates a lot of other questions for us to ponder the answers to and the theories for. I like this theory because it's a theory that gives us more questions. And I love when you're like, oh, maybe this fits here, and then it's like, oh, but then what about these things? That's my favorite thing about FNAF. Number 4. Vanessa / Vanny. Another theory involving Vanessa and Vanny is that they are one and the same character. This is a pretty popular theory on the internet and comes from a Funko figure featuring both of them together on the same platform. This figure also shows Vanny holding her finger in front of her mouth as though she's trying to silence the onlooker, hinting that she has a secret. Because Vanessa is also present behind her, it seems to suggest that Vanny's secret is that she is Vanessa herself. Either that or maybe she's hunting Vanessa, but yeah. The other reasoning as to why people seem to think they are one and the same comes from emails found in Special Delivery. These emails seem to suggest that a worker of Fazbear's nicknamed Ness has 2 different personalities residing within her, and that she was transferred to security recently. People think this Ness is actually short for Vanessa from the games, and that the emails are implying that Vanessa suffers from a dissociative identity disorder, where her other personality is actually none other than the villainous Vanny.
Getting close to the end, in at number 3, intentional. What if all these horrific moments were actually intentional? What if trapping Gregory inside the restaurant was done on purpose? I mean that they know something is going down here, right? Based off the final waiver that we're told we must fill out when leaving after we've been given complimentary cups. Quote, please make your way to the front of the building where you will be given novelty glasses, a voucher for 1 free soda refill, and where you will sign a legal disclaimer releasing us of all liability for anything that might have happened during your visit. And by the way, really? 1 free soda refill? Shouldn't you just, you have to pay to get into the actual Pizzaplex, right? I'd assume so. So why can't I just get infinite refills? Soda is probably one of the most marked up things in restaurant history. So just let me have free refills, bro. Anyway, that line also plays over Vanny dancing up to us from down the hall during this final line. And this company, being made in part by Afton, I think it's safe to say that they know more than they're letting on here. Especially since in FNAF AR they're shipping out animatronics that are meant to be copies of William's body in the Springtrap suit. And later on, while William is in the hospital, the nurses know he's a bad person. So Fazbear Inc. would have to know who was under those ears, right? I mean, at least I'd hope so, if they're not incompetent, but then again, they definitely are. They would especially know if those 8-bit minigames are the games that Scott made in universe, right? Since we see the spring locking happen during one of those games in FNAF 3. Just saying.
Number 2, Vanessa is mom. So we've already talked about the very rocky yet somewhat popular theory that Vanessa is the mother of William's children, or his lover in some way. But what if she isn't the mother of his kids, but instead is the mother of Gregory? Honestly, she seems like she might be a little young to be the mother of anyone in my opinion, but although we think we know her age based on information gained from emails found in Special Delivery, this doesn't mean that we're right. Instead of Gregory's parents being killed, what if the reason we don't see them searching for him is because they were already there all along? What if Vanessa is Gregory's mom? Maybe he gets to hang out at the Mega Pizzaplex while his mom works, or she had to bring him with her that day because her babysitter canceled or something like that. In that case, it's possible that something went wrong and then the two got separated. Vanessa is trying to find Gregory and help him escape the animatronics, many of which have started to go pretty haywire. Now, why would they suddenly go haywire? Well, I've got a theory for that too. Number 1, security breach. Something we seem to have moved away from, but that I think is still very important when it comes to theories involving this game, is understanding the title fully. In Five Nights at Freddy's sister location, the name was meant to have a double meaning. It was a game about a sister location of Freddy's, Circus Baby's entertainment and rental, but it was also a place where Michael's sister seemed to be located, or more specifically, trapped. Circus Baby was the prison for Elizabeth's soul, and Michael seemed to have been sent there or drawn there with the intention of freeing his little sister's spirit. So when it comes to security breach, what could this title mean? Well, in one sense it could mean that someone has broken through the physical security of the Mega Pizzaplex, or it could mean, or also mean, that they have broken through digitally. It seems likely that security breach will also have some kind of double meaning, implying that Glitch Trap has broken through the firewall of the Pizzaplex and is taking control of it to wreak havoc on its visitors and staff. It could also refer to the security team themselves being breached in some way, perhaps referring to the fact that Vanessa will be overtaken by her potentially alternate personality Vanny, as we've speculated.
And it's in Afton's hell. I think we all know where William Afton, aka the purple guy, aka a whole load of other things, deserves to go. One-way trip downstairs, baby! Or as Henry said, although for one of you, the darkest pit in hell has opened to swallow you whole. So don't keep the devil waiting, old friend. We thought that William was in hell for Ultimate Custom Night, however this proved to not be the case when The Man in Room 1280 released, showing us that instead, William had only been in a coma like his son years before. However, winning this time was waking him up instead of dying, only dying when he explodes in a Fazbear warehouse and creates Glitch Trap. But is this really what happened? Did William really possess a hard drive and become sentient code, or is there something more going on here? While yes, the weird things in this series can be explained away with, oh, it's FNAF, or a dream theory of some sort, what if instead it's actually because now we're in hell to torture William? Think about it. If William is sentient code, he wouldn't actually be able to possess someone, okay? That doesn't make any sense, even for FNAF. Therefore, he would be unable to kill anyone and would instead just have to watch. Maybe he's being tricked into thinking that he's winning just so that we can pull the rug out from underneath him. That'd be fun. And at 9, it's a trap. FNAF is no stranger to twist endings. I mean, how many times have we seen the bad guys win? Well, I'm sure that there will be no shifts with this game. I get it. Shifts. The Pizzaplex certainly seems like it's some evil scheme to lure any kid, but honestly probably Gregory specifically, into it. I mean, like, giant hologram versions of the characters? Come on, if that doesn't scream future version of a white van, I don't know what will. Like, hey kids, come see our giant holograms. I swear, this place has to be a trap. I mean, they've already done twists with the simulated pizzeria and pizzeria simulator, and it could be poetic in a sense, luring a kid to his death the same way that you were lured to what should have been yours. And now that I think about it, William is all about parallels. His son went into a coma after being bit by Fredbear, and so did William, after a fire. They both had to suffer through nightmares about animatronics, so perhaps this is yet another parallel, this time to himself, so that he can come back into this world the way he went out, or should have gone out. Also guys, if you didn't already know, if you love the FNAF content, we have a whole other channel now. It's called Top 10 Gaming Elite. You should go check it out. Link is in the description, because we're almost there. We're almost at 1,000. Come on. Just do it for me, okay? And it ain't Secret Helper. Trailers are always good at hiding one thing, the real story. We're seeing it with the No Way Home trailers. However, the one thing that they can't really explain away is the whole Chica getting her head bashed in at the start of the trailer. That pillar did not just fall on her for our convenience. Someone had to push it. And if you were skeptical, a few shots later, when they cut back to Chica laying on the ground, the shadow of the pillar moves as if it was being pulled off of her. So, who's helping her? Some could assume Vanessa, but she doesn't really seem strong enough to be able to move it. Now, don't get me wrong, I know that looks may be deceiving, I'm certainly stronger than I look, however, the more likely culprit here is that it's just Glamrock Freddy. But this begs the question, how? Since the only times we've seen him, when he's making a secret appearance in the trailer or he's in mech mode, which would mean that if he is swapping between the two, that Freddy is just an updated version of the Springlock suit, which makes me want to pee myself, because we all know how that went last time.
Number 7. Return of Circus Baby. I have talked about this idea before due to the fact the voice we heard in the first Security Breach gameplay trailer sounded a lot like Heather Masters' intonation to me. I don't know about you, but if you put those two voices side by side, at least for me, it really sounds like Heather, but using just a lower register in her voice. This potential connection to me either means that Circus Baby could somehow be returning through a connection to Vanessa, who I believe is speaking here just based on what she's saying, how it sounds like she wants to help Gregory escape, or that Vanessa will in some way at least end up being a traitor similar to Circus Baby's role in Sister Location. Of course, if this is Heather's voice, there is always the possibility that she is simply voicing a completely new character with no connection to anyone else or anything that has come previously, as voice actors are warned to do. But hey, this is just a theory, a voiceover theory. We don't really know yet, because nothing has been solidified. But for a while, it did say on IMDb that Heather Masters was going to be a voice actor in the game. It's not there anymore, but it was there for a time.
And at 6, it's a game. The idea that there are games in the FNAF universe that surrounded the tragedies in the Fazbear Entertainment Company and made them more popular is a concept introduced in FNAF VR. We also learn later in that game that Fazbear Entertainment actually paid the indie game dev to create the Fazbear games as a way to kind of break the tension. However, one question we have yet to get the answer to is what are the games in universe? And I have an idea. What if it's this one? Montgomery, Gator, and Roxanne Wolf are 2 new animatronics in the series, meaning that there's no real history with these characters, allowing the creators to do whatever they want. And in the case of a fan game, avoid copyright. I mean, yes, they have Glamrock, Chica, and Freddy, but since they're variations, it could be considered fair use, like in the case of fan art. Since technically they don't own the rights to the characters they're drawing, but they own the rights to the actual piece of art. So could Security Breach instead just be a new game in this series after Fazbear Entertainment has stopped paying him off, and William somehow made his way into it? I'm just saying, it's something to think about. Halfway through into number 5, Nightmare. What the absolute living hell are those mini nightmare puppet looking things at the end of the recent trailer, and that were actually the first glitch in Freddy and Friends? These little animatronics look very close to what a nightmare mini arena would look like to me. But my question is, what the hell are these things doing here? The existence of a nightmare looking animatronic seems to suggest that perhaps this game is a nightmare a la FNAF 4, which could explain a lot if this is in fact a nightmare inside of Vanessa's head while she's fighting her dual personality or fighting William's influence. It could explain why we see both Vanny and Vanessa in the game, and plenty of other things as well. It seems like a cop-out, but this could be Scott's way of saying that FNAF 4 was in fact a dream, if that's the route that he wants the series to take in the future, with a new owner having the IP now and taking charge seemingly after this game. But what do you think? Do you think that Security Breach could be a dream in Vanny's head, or is that just a little too much at this point? Let me know down below. See, like, I wouldn't say that anything is too much for FNAF except for Dream Theory. At this point, that's probably a little much. And at 4, the arm. The arm at the end of the initial Security Breach teaser drove the internet mad for like a week before we ultimately said we'll just wait for the next trailer. However, while that trailer did take a while to release, it did eventually get here, and there was no mention of that arm. And again, with the most recent and probably last trailer before the game's release, let's be honest, again, nothing about that arm. And while I understand why, it's still frustrating. So you can guess that when someone tagged me on Twitter at Centimeter Monroe and showed me a picture comparing the Security Breach arm to the arm of Nightmare Freddy, I would be intrigued. So intrigued in fact that I actually got angry, because if this ends up being Nightmare Freddy's arm, I'm leaving. Okay? Like, these animatronics are perfectly content being illusions or a child's imagination running wild while his body is trying to save his life. Still, what the hell? Whose arm was this? I know it was some form of Afton, but like, which one? And I don't know anymore, and it makes me angry.
Number 3. Not so vengeful spirit. On the other hand, as we don't have a lot of intel yet on this, it is equally possible that Freddy could be possessed indeed. However, in this case, he still doesn't seem to be acting vengefully here, unless the vengeance shows up in a different way. Many times we've played as more grown-up, adult security guards in this franchise. I think this might be the first time a leading protagonist, or at least what we assume to be the protagonist, is not an adult but is instead a child with Gregory. And so it could be possible that if there is a spirit within Glamrock Freddy, and if the spirit also belongs to a child, as so many of these spirits in this franchise do, that they inherently want to help Gregory because they recognize he is also a child in peril, like they once were. If this is the explanation behind Glamrock Freddy's seemingly helpful and protective nature, then it's likely they are the only animatronic who is possessed, as the others seem more mindlessly hellbent on harming or capturing Gregory. Either that or these other animatronics are possessed but something is manipulating them.
Penultimately, in a number 2, multiple paths. Over the course of the trailers, we've heard multiple potential stories. That Gregory was lured there, that his friends were taken, that he needs to escape, but now we've got things like he's trapped by accident, he's alone and hiding from security, and that we need to survive until 6 AM, despite previous trailers countering that. So this leads me to believe that we are going to have some choices to make in this upcoming FNAF game. We know that it is no longer a sit in your office and close the doors game, but rather this is a game about you. Will you choose to side with Freddy and stick it out until 6 AM, or will you follow Vanessa, who's potentially your mother or sister, and try to escape? We see that there are multiple areas to travel, the underground area and the Pizzaplex among others, so the most logical answer to me is that we will have multiple playstyles for this game. And finally, in a number 1, multiple endings. And with multiple paths or multiple ways to go comes multiple endings. I feel like this is kind of a guarantee in a FNAF game by now, but we might as well discuss how it could happen. My best idea is that there's going to be 3 endings. One by following Vanessa, one listening to Freddy and waiting until 6 AM, and the final secret one that could be unlocked via collecting objects around the map or with a certain set of conditions being met. Although I doubt punching a code into a wall is going to count this time, but I will be searching meticulously through the whole thing when the game comes out. You best know I'll be playing it. This is like the only FNAF game that I will have played all the way through. Like, don't get me wrong, I like the series, mostly, but I hate being scared. Being scared is a bad thing, and I say this every time. We should not willingly be putting ourselves in situations that make us scared. Being scared is supposed to tell us that something is wrong, and if we like being scared, then if there's actual danger, we may not react in time or properly because we just like the feeling of being scared. So just don't do it. It's a bad idea.